It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccerphiles Canada. Welcome to Series 31, looking at the groups and teams of the 2025 African Cup. This episode is looking at Group B, Egypt, South Africa, Angola, and Zimbabwe. Here we go! It's the International Soccer Preview by Soccerphiles Canada, Series 31. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Connor. And today we are looking at Group B for the 2025 African Cup Tournament. This group is made up of Egypt, South Africa, Angola, and Zimbabwe.
We move on to part 3 now, and we look at the teams kind of in comparison to each other. So we're going to start with the pots and rankings, and we'll determine how tough this group is by that measure.
Yeah, so from pot 1, Egypt is the third team, so behind just hosts Morocco and Senegal. So that puts them as one of the top 3 ranked teams coming into this African Cup. South Africa came out of 4th out of pot 2, 4th out of 6. Angola were the second top team in pot 3, and Zimbabwe were the second bottom in pot 4. So we see a bit of a gulf there.
Yeah, sorry, in the graphic I highlighted the wrong team there. So Zimbabwe coming in as the second weakest team in the tournament here. Let's take a look at their rankings according to FIFA and ELO.
Yeah, so Egypt is currently 35th in FIFA, but lower down, 51st in ELO, and that's held actually pretty consistent over the last kind of 3 years. South Africa is 55th in FIFA and 76th in ELO. They've climbed a bit, particularly in FIFA, coming into more of a period of strength, as we've seen over the last couple tournaments.
Yeah.
Angola is 89th in FIFA and 69th in ELO. And again, they've risen from actually the hundreds or the 120s even over the last 3 years. So again, a team that's kind of showed some recent improvement, a recent rise. And then Zimbabwe comes in as the lowest ranked team, 125th in FIFA and 119th in ELO. And they've kind of been a team below the hundreds for a little while, even though they have got to some African Cups.
Right, so we do see actually Angola higher than South Africa in the ELO rankings. That'll be a good talking point.
Yeah.
We'll save that, though, for a little later. We're going to look at the head-to-head records between those two teams and some pretty interesting things here.
Yeah, starting with Egypt and South Africa, they have an even record, 2 wins apiece and 1 tie.
So they met in 2012 African Cup qualification there. I just point that out because it was actually Niger that won that group over both of them. But South Africa actually got the better of Egypt in that terrible campaign. In 2019 African Cup, the round of 16, we mentioned it. Egypt were hosts, but they lost to South Africa, so probably looking for a bit of payback here.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Egypt and Angola.
Egypt has a better record. In their 6 meetings, Egypt has 4 wins, and there have been 2 ties.
Right, and their most recent meeting was in 2022 World Cup qualifying. There, Egypt bested Angola, which means that Angola did get a draw there, and actually that draw was in Egypt. So I said earlier that Angola may be a team to look out for, and its results like that may be a bit worrying to the top teams. We move on to Egypt and Zimbabwe.
Yeah, Egypt has a dominant record here. They have 5 wins. There are 2 draws, and there's 1 win for Zimbabwe.
Yeah, and so Zimbabwe have taken some points from Egypt. It would be a bit more exciting if those were in recent times, but actually they were in the last century. So Egypt have won the last 4 meetings there. So Egypt gets a strong nod there. South Africa and Angola.
Yeah, they've met 8 times, but Angola has yet to win. South Africa has 5 wins, and there are 3 draws.
Right, but keeping in mind there that Angola did win the last 2 COSAFA Cups, those cups are all hosted in South Africa. We said South Africa often sends a B team, but they did beat South Africa in the final in 2025. That'll at least give them a little bit of confidence there.
Yeah, we just don't include those COSAFA games in our stats.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, well pointed out there. Next, we have South Africa and Zimbabwe.
Yeah, these are 2 neighboring countries. South Africa has a better record, though. It's 4 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat.
Right. So again, there have been points exchanged between them actually in the 2022 and 2026 World Cup qualifications. They met in both of those, and Zimbabwe got a tie in each of those. So South Africa should take a little warning from that.
Yeah.
Finally, we have Angola and Zimbabwe, maybe the most interesting of all.
It is. They've met a lot. They've met 10 times, and it's an even record with 4 wins apiece and 2 draws as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, all of those took place from 2013 or earlier, so we have no recent information on that. Next, we move on to the odds. I have checked the AI and asked what the AI gives us for odds for winning this group. And after some deep thought by the computer, this is what it came up with.
Yeah, it gives Egypt 78%. That's an overwhelming number. South Africa 13%. Angola 8%, though we've seen them top groups in the past. And Zimbabwe with just 1% chance. That's just to win the group.
Right, for winning the group. So, well, now we move on to our discussion and predictions, and we might pop back to those odds because that might be a good place to start. Why don't we do that? Or would you prefer to start with Angola being ranked above South Africa by ELO rankings?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I think there's some arguments for it, with Angola's, major upsets, which really gives you a boost in rankings, beating Ghana and Algeria in recent times and doing kind of well in tournaments. But I think South Africa, they've had a very good World Cup qualifying campaign. They had a great campaign in the 2023 African Cup. So I probably don't buy it that Angola should be ranked ahead of South Africa. But what do you feel? We do tend to put some stock in the ELO rankings.
Yeah, we tend to agree with them more, but I'm with you in this case. I mean, Angola is coming in with pretty good momentum. But I think South Africa is also coming in with good momentum. So if it was just Angola, I might agree. But South Africa is kind of doing it in both tournaments, whereas Angola is really only doing it in the African Cup recently.
Yeah, which as we've seen is kind of part of their history. But yeah, it hasn't really translated in World Cup play. It's just been the African Cup.
Yeah. Let's talk about 78% for Egypt, though, because that's a bit of a surprise. Do you agree it's that high?
I don't agree it's that high. I do think Egypt is the top team in this group, but I don't think South Africa is that far from challenging them. And we've seen Egypt with some very good campaigns, but we also pointed out in their history, they've had some very poor ones too. I'm not suggesting they're due for a very poor one, but it's happened. So yeah, I think 78% is too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when I was looking at Egypt, it seems that somehow, despite the fact that they often reach higher, the kind of end stages of competitions, which in the World Cup would be basically reaching the World Cup. It's often ended in disappointment. Recently, we saw the World Cup qualification playoffs with Algeria and then with Senegal, the final there with Senegal in 2023. I wouldn't call those lapses, but I wouldn't say they're as reliable as a top team should be. On the other hand, though, we did point out that they have been a lot more consistent over the last few campaigns.
Yeah, they have been more consistent, but like you said, they're seen as a top team without always having the kind of stats to back it up, and that's some phenomenal tournament successes in the African Cup, but some really disappointing ones too, and in the World Cup as well. So yeah, there's maybe a little bit of a mask there that South Africa will try and rip off and get behind.
Yeah, I got to ask you, how seriously do you think Egypt and South Africa will take this? I mean, obviously their main focus will be the World Cup, given that both of them are qualified for the. Do they take this as a serious dress rehearsal, or because this is every 2 years? I have noticed some African players. The ones who have been successful at the club level, I kind of get the feeling that they don't take this tournament as seriously.
Yeah, no, I think both teams will take it quite seriously. I think, they have momentum from winning their World Cup groups. They'll want to carry that on. And yeah, this is the last kind of really competitive games that they'll be having before the World Cup. So I think it's important for both of them. I think with Egypt too, they have the great Mohamed Salah. He would love to he's come close, losing in a final against Senegal, but for them, it would be great for their greatest player to have success with the national team. So I think both teams will take it very seriously.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. It is a bit like Messi in Argentina, where they really wanted a triumph to celebrate his period with the team. We got a couple of other questions on Egypt. First of all, do you think the other teams can take points off them? Maybe I should ask, who do you think is got the strongest potential of taking points off them?
I definitely think South Africa has the strongest potential. If Egypt perform poorly, it could be Angola as well. I do think Egypt will beat Zimbabwe. They might be expected they'll be the favorites probably in all their games, in a North African tournament as well. But I think there's real risk that South Africa and Angola could take points from them. It's not a gimme group. Again, these are all three teams that passed the group stage last time. So they're capable of not just getting here, but performing well once they do.
Exactly. I mean, Angola have finished on top of the group the last two African Cups they've been to. Definitely a warning for Egypt, and the warning is consistency is really important. I think even against Zimbabwe, which can be a bit of a spoiler team, I wouldn't predict it, but I do think it's a team to be careful against.
Yeah, and Egypt starts their tournament with Zimbabwe, so they'll definitely want to get off on a good footing there. And that also means South Africa starts their tournament against Angola. How do you see that game going, or maybe the prospects in the group?
Yeah, that leads us into the next section, and I think that'll be, it's pretty obvious to say it'll be group defining. Maybe not so obvious, as I see that one as fairly even though I see South Africa overall as a tougher team. I definitely think Angola could take them by surprise there.
I think it's a game that can really set the tone. I mean, if Angola beats South Africa, they'll play Zimbabwe next, and they could go into their final game against Egypt trying to top the group yet again. It's a realistic opportunity for them. If they lose, it's an uphill battle. I think it's a bit tough to call. I would favor South Africa. But it's hard to write off a team that's performed as well in recent African Cups as Angola has.
Yeah, they have some really good players, and I hope that one of them scores a goal so you can see his African Lion celebration. I think that I'm scared to say it because no, maybe I'll look it up as we go in here. Anyway, that's South Africa and Angola. I think we do kind of favor South Africa over Angola, where although we wouldn't be surprised if Angola kind of pulled an upset there. How do you see Zimbabwe's chances?
I think it's tough. I mean, this will be their sixth tournament. They haven't got past the group stage. This, quite frankly, is a difficult group for them. Their World Cup campaign without winning kind of really shows that they're up against it, especially against the top tier teams. I think this is potentially a group where Zimbabwe, if they get 0 points, it's probably good for the other three teams because it means probably all the other three are advancing. And I see that as kind of a possible or even a likely outcome from this group. I think we'll see three teams advancing, which depends on those teams all beating Zimbabwe. But I think that, could be in the cards.
It could be in the cards. I mean, we saw that they were the second weakest team coming into this tournament. Perhaps their ranking, at least in FIFA, is a bit harsh because I think they lost a lot of points while they were suspended, both in 2018 and 2023. So I think they're a slightly stronger team. We saw that they're an odd team. The difference between the African Cup play and World Cup play is odd. Their home record during African Cup play, they're not playing at home here. So does that mean they won't be as convincing? But we did see that they get one result in every tournament they've been in, which is 5 tournaments. So, pick your victim here. I think they could be a spoiler.
Yeah. Who do you think they could spoil out of all these teams?
If it comes to spoilers, I think Zimbabwe is as likely to do it to Egypt as they are to Angola. I mean, it could be anyone. And that's why I've said I think teams need to be really careful with them because they can put in a good performance,
Yeah, I think South Africa is a rival to another South African team, so that'll be an important game, I'm sure, for Zimbabwe. It's their last one as well, so they've had patterns too of losing two and then getting a result at the end. So South Africa, that's who they play in their final game. So it could be that team too.
Yeah, it could be. It really could. I wanted to ask you as we went, what do you think a realistic end goal is? So maybe we'll finish by going through the teams and talking about their end goal. But before we'll do that, I'll say that Mabalulu is the Angola player who I hope scores because his celebration is great. Anyway, Egypt, do you think there's any reasonable limit on them here?
I mean, they'll see playing in North Africa, obviously not home, but maybe an advantage for them. When they have good campaigns, they go far. They often get to semifinals on a good campaign, and if they manage to win this group, you talked earlier about kind of a favorable draw in the round of 16. I think semifinals is realistic for them, and will probably be a good campaign. They come in as a third-ranked African team, behind just Morocco and Senegal. So, that puts them, I think, up among the favorites. I think semifinals is probably good, but do you think the Egyptian team or their fans will strive even greater than that?
I really like the point you made about Salah. He's coming towards the end of his career. Trezeguet also, I think, coming towards the end of his career, and I think they do want something. And we saw how much effect that had on Argentina, so I really like that point. I don't think the finals is an unrealistic goal, or even the title is an unrealistic goal. I guess given the strength of Morocco and Senegal, it would be tough. But those teams don't always show up, so I think there's a chance for Egypt. I think definitely they will be pretty much dissatisfied with anything but the final.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen they're the most successful team in this tournament, but they haven't had a lot of success since those
three in a row.
3 in a row. So that's a long time to not have it.
Yeah. South Africa finished third last time. Do you think that is a realistic goal again? We'll say the semifinals for them.
I think it could be. It might depend on their placing in this group and who they meet. But, teams are always looking to improve. I think how well they did in World Cup qualifying, topping a group over Nigeria, even with the basically having to concede a victory, shows their strength. So yeah, I think this is a team that it maybe hasn't been a gradual return to the top as much as kind of a rapid rise. So yeah, I think for them, I would say semifinals would be the aim, whether that's achievable or not. But I think that would be a good tournament for them.
Yeah, I think they're a strong team with a lot of potential. They showed that in the late 90s. They have one of the healthiest leagues, I believe, in Africa.
Yeah.
They draw a lot of players from countries like Angola, their best from Angola and Zimbabwe and the countries around them. They're a bit like China, where I feel like their potential, like they should be doing better in Africa than they've been doing. They should be doing as well as they did in the 90s, and they just can't seem to get it together. But that makes me wonder whether they can get it together here enough to reach the semifinals again. They have one big win, the Egypt in 2019 and Morocco in 2020. Big surprises there. But I'm not sure they can pull it off again, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for that reason, I think they're probably more vulnerable than Egypt to Angola and even Zimbabwe. I'm a bit shaky in my belief that South Africa will finish second here.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think Angola, it's kind of tough. They could finish maybe first to fourth. I think getting out of the group stage would be good. This is a tough group. They're playing against two World Cup teams, two pretty strong teams in the region. You would never predict them to win the group as they've done in the past, despite them doing it. I think for Angola, making sure they beat Zimbabwe and maybe get a point off South Africa or Egypt, ensuring their qualification to the next round will be good. But I don't really see them going much beyond that. It would really depend who they play, but if they qualify as a third or even the second team, it's going to be a difficult match ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to qualify in first place again, Angola. And Zimbabwe, do you give them any hope of maybe challenging for third?
I don't really in this one. I think they're just up against teams that are pretty good. Angola were pretty, the second best team in pot three. Zimbabwe, the second weakest team in the tournament. So I'd love to see it. I think it would be entertaining. Maybe I'm more down on them than you are, but I think they'll struggle to maintain their run of getting at least a point in every tournament. I think it could be.
I do give them some possibility of earning a spoiler result, and maybe that'll affect the group. But I agree. I don't really think they have a chance of challenging for third. One curious detail I thought when we were talking about South Africa is Lyle Foster. Do you know him?
Yeah, he plays for Burnley.
Yes, he missed the last African Cup. Apparently, he had some struggle with nervousness or anxiety or something. That was the reason he missed the last African Cup. But I wonder if he'll join this African Cup because I'm sure he'll want to play in the World Cup. And I know he has been playing for South Africa in qualification games. So we've mentioned a couple of players from each team, but that may be a good factor for South Africa.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point you make.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put you to the sword here, and say you've had enough time to equivocate, and now it is time for you to lay it down, Connor. What is going to be the final order of this group?
I think this is an interesting one, but I'm going to go with group order and say Egypt, South Africa, Angola, Zimbabwe. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know if we talked about the colors that I'm wearing now, but they have meaning. They have meaning beyond just the fact that I have a shirt for Uganda. It's because I have a bit of a shine on for Angola. as a team. So I'm actually going to pick an upset here: Egypt, Angola, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. But I know I'm going out on a limb there.
Well, it'll be interesting to see for both Angola, but particularly South Africa, whether recent good form is a flash in the pan or something to be sustained. So we might learn that lesson here.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this group, and I'm looking forward to looking at Group C with you next time.
All right. I'll see you then.
We would like to thank Pixabay and Cold Fingers for the wonderful music used in this media cast. The title of the piece is Eid Mubarak.